Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
I'm here.
All right, excellent. We all be is under the heaven on the one and only, the truly honorable and beyond category, Judge Joe Brown. He's going to give us a lowdown of what's going on in the current media industry complex right now. He's going to put the spin on the news. He's going to make it plain and tell it like it is. How you doing tonight, sir?
All right, young man. I'm doing fine, young brother Hurd.
Yeah, I got to talk, man, 'cause I know people want to know what the judge be thinking on these current events going on, especially what's recently happened in your hometown of Los Angeles, in your old stomping grounds. So, over there in off Slauson. I guess some people.
I used to live a block off of Slauson, right off of Normandy.
Yes, sir. So you know that area very well, but we don't.
Place, know it real well.
That's why we got you on the phone.
Place in Normandy. Yeah, anyway, what's going on out there? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A prominent rap artist got gunned down by somebody who had some personal animosity for him. It's a tragedy, but stuff like that happens. It's unfortunate. He used to call it black on black crime, but now some people seem to be very sensitive about that. However, what disturbs me most about it is this tendency of the press that is intensifying recently to make some people more important than other people when it comes to the value of their lives. So a whole lot of people get killed in South Central L.A., though they don't call it that anymore because the city council said, oh, my God, it has such a bad onus, we can't use the term South Central L.A. Now, when I grew up, it was not called South Central L.A. It was just L.A. After 1965, when they had the Watts uprising that some call the Watts riot, well, a few years after that, they got to designating the inner city black area South Central, but it's not really black anymore. The Hispanics have taken over a lot of it, so it is what it is. The population moved westward, and now the ballast for black areas is down Slauson, Western Avenue, and such like, but it's extended as far west as Crenshaw, and from, say, Florence on the south end down to, almost to Wilshire Boulevard on the north end. So it is what it is, but it's unfortunate the young man got shot. I understand that he was doing some stuff for the community, trying to help out and uplift it, but then, we don't have all this manhood that we need out in our communities, and these young guys just don't understand that if you're that aggrieved, go duke it out with somebody. Have a fist fight in the back alley, but you don't go by and shoot somebody the way they're doing. I mean, that's not the way it's supposed to be done, but it's the way too many of us do it these days because of the lack of masculinity. So we suffer from it.
Now, it was interesting, people made well aware that he was part of the Rolling 60s Crips. And my understanding, you would know better than I do, the founder of the Crips, Raymond Washington, they did not believe in guns, right? They believed in fighting it out or using their fists.
No, I don't know about all of that. I don't know about that. See, Let me say about the gang thing. There are two periods of black gang activity in Los Angeles. There was one up to the middle of the summer of 1965, and it stopped when we had the Watts uprising.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you a personal anecdote on that, but they had Slausons, Dell Vikings, businessmen, gangster disciples, no, not gangster disciples, really, De La Soul, some stuff like that. They kind of disappeared. It's nobody was mad after 1965 August. Frustration was gone. LAPD got run out the hood for the next 18 months. After that August, I think there were only 2 black-on-black homicides, and that was boyfriend, girlfriend in one instance, and wife shooting husband in another. And the burglaries dropped to 0, robberies dropped to 0, assaults dropped to 0, rapes dropped to 0. The tension was out of the black community, and the police didn't go in there. So it was a new thing. It got corrupted, but that is indeed unfortunate. However, there was a thing that was developing. It just got to a point where you couldn't trust anybody, because you'd go and there'd be an organization and there are more FBI members or SIS Bureau of LAPD that were members of the organization, and then were earnest members. So everybody was being an informant. Not everybody, but, you know, that was the thing. So they used some sophisticated methods to destroy what was going on with the black, well, the black tide, to get things together where black folk live. I'm black and I'm proud wasn't something James Brown invented. He just got on the wave that had already been started. They got people proud of themselves instead of being ashamed for being black because they did not match the white imagery. I mean, reality was that you so seldom saw black images that people had very negative concepts and very low self-esteem. You're seeing that again now with this tranny stuff, where they so badly hate what they are that they want to change genders, or some of their sycophants want to push this thing a fluid gender. That's why they like Michael, a.k.a. Michelle Jackson, so much. He was a black kid, and he hated himself so much, he tried to make himself white, had so much surgery on his face and nose that his nose got necrotic and had to be amputated. So for the last few years of his life in public appearances, he had a prosthesis that he had on, and he got his melanin cells destroyed by laser activity, so he looked white, and he had his hair replaced with some Polynesian hair that they had to peel his scalp back to thread through and not inside, and he had that happen every few months, and got himself so addicted to painkillers that he killed himself. So, you know, they like to make a role model of a poster child, the poster child for self-hate. They wanted to make a role model for black people in terms of not masculinity, but as he was androgynous for the suppressed masculinity that otherwise was out there. It's bad. So we've got some bad things that have developed. And what you saw in L.A. was just the tip of the iceberg, illustrating the lack of manhood inside the black community. It isn't just a black thing these days. There is a carefully calculated 50-year-long campaign with the objective of emasculating the country. I've said that over and over and over and over again. We just got a gay woman elected up in Chicago, and it supposedly was the lowest voter turnout in the last 60-some years of Chicago history. But they're taking everything over, and they wanted to get on a lot of people because they said something. Some people were getting on me because I said I think it is a bankrupt policy for the military to put women in combat units. I mean, women have more utility than being in combat units, and it does bad things for the social scene, because what happens in the military gets brought out into civilian life, and there is this thing about men protecting women women and children in a lifeboat first, but you can't have an effective military unit if everybody in the unit isn't subject to taking a bullet if necessary. So to put women in a context with men who will be conditioned to let them take the bullet instead of taking it for them is a very bad thing. When I was sitting on the criminal bench, 30 years ago, I began to notice the impact of such things as these video games where they had female avatars that the kids would all interchange with. The boys would play as the girls and girls would play as the boys. And when they do that, they start thinking that boys and girls are the same, which they're not, because we forget now that girls are weaker than boys, so boys should never hit them. So if they can fight it out on a video game and you've been conditioned by the propaganda you hear all of the time that they are the equal of man, then, nothing's wrong with punching the girl if you get mad at her. And the boys are being conditioned to act on emotions rather than logic and reason, so they go off more easily than they used to. And when they beat on a woman, it's just what's to be expected. It's wrong, but that's one of the things that people don't want to look at when they start trying to assess these things. I keep going back to this thing about manhood because so much of what's wrong in our communities and in this country as a whole now, everything from the educational system to politics, has got to do with the concerted effort to emasculate the country. So, it's just what it is. It's not healthy. You got this transvestite thing, and they want to talk about fluid gender, but what strikes me about that is for the last 3.8 billion years, this planet has been evolving a setup where male and female get attracted to each other. And there are things that human males and human females do to appeal to each other and bind to each other. It's called courtship. It's called a feminine appearance that is appealing to men and a masculinity that's appealing to women. And right now, that's not what's going on. We've got so much out there that is bad when it comes to this, because you've got boys masquerading as girls. I don't care whether they can help it or not. These normal guys who wouldn't be interested in dealing with a man sexually, but they look at this and it looks like it's a girl, so they respond to it and then find out, whoa, it's not a girl, it's a guy, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one thing if the person is a homosexual, that's their business, and some guy likes some other guy, or some girl likes some other girl, but you've got this one thing that people are propagandizing about where that's not what happens anymore. It's a boy looking like a girl, swishing like a girl, dressed like a girl, and instead of feathers and manes and stuff like that, like animals have, it's the clothing that humans have adopted through culture, which has evolved in lockstep with the physiological evolution, and here you go. You got a mess. But people, have this emotive thing where they wish something to happen, and they sometimes don't get it, that whether or not you wish it, there's this little, well, not little, but this big matter of what happens when something gets too dysfunctional is called extinction. And the rule on this planet is not survival, it's extinction. So we do a lot of stuff that is not healthy for us, and we don't understand that, and we keep doing it. because it appeals to our emotions. And that's part of this thing of the feminization of the country. It started 50 years ago where people were not taught, but there was a move afoot to get people to react on emotions rather than logic, because logic was a man thing. And what happened is men being logical, they would come up with all sorts of reasons to go to war. So rather than going to war, they should be taught to emote so they could cry and shout and let it all hang out, get upset, throw crockery and stuff like that instead of fighting it out. But that has led to that kind of thing you just saw in L.A., where instead of somebody aggrieved at somebody else and mano a mano, they duke it out someplace in a fair fight. You gotta go play like his crazy dysfunctional mama who wanted to throw battery acid on a neighbor for looking at some guy 6 months after she broke up with him. So I mean, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, ask me something, son. I'm
yeah. I mean, there's so much I mean, you're very relevant now, Judge. There's so much stuff going on. I'm just it's a couple things. Like, I want to ask you about the rapper case, because like the Eric Holder guy, the judge gave him a $5 million bail. He's more than likely not getting out of jail. But how do you think he got Chris Darden to represent him? I mean, where he get the resources for that?
Chris Darden?
Yeah, it's representing the guy who
let Christopher Darden represent my dog. Honest to goodness, in all of my years of practicing criminal law, sitting on the bench as a criminal judge, the performance Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden gave prosecuting OJ was one of the most disgraceful performances I've ever seen. It wasn't even incompetent. It was below that. As prosecutors, they did everything to mess their own case up. It was like they were working for OJ and were deliberately trying to so antagonize the jury that there was no way the state could get a conviction. Not that they deserved it, because they didn't have any evidence against OJ. It was incriminating other people, though, because of that sleazeball Nancy Grace, who was trying to break into Hollywood. We got a contrary story, but most people don't realize that reprobate scoundrel scallywag is the one that is the reason we got so much misinformation that has been adopted by the public. That's the danger of the wrong kind of person having access to influencing public opinion. Adolf Hitler, Goebbels, and the Nazis did that. Some communist states have had that happen, but North Korea, but I mean, it is what it is. So, it's crazy.
Wow. Well, let me ask you, like you said, you grew up in the Slauson area on Slauson Avenue, and I just got to ask you about, like you talk about L.A. Confidential as being, the movie. It's showing how, the reality of how police rule L.A. with an iron fist for decades. Like we talked about that a couple of times on the show. But what is the gang environment out like? I mean, like, I know you grew up in the area, but like, is the gang thing, like, is it portrayed correctly by the media, or is it over exaggerated?
It's worse.
Oh, it's worse. Okay.
See, when I was in elementary school, they still had dads at home.
Mm-hmm.
Dads worked. And I can remember elementary school, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, a little punk who was always crying with snot running down his nose, hollering about, I want my mama. And he didn't have a dad at home for the most part. And when he got in junior high school, 7th grade, he joined the Dell Vikings. And now he was a bad hombre with a posse to back him up and was going around trying to commit mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
And what we always saw was the guys that had dads, they didn't act like that. The guys that had a dad and maybe got killed in Korea or something, or who gotten rarely divorced, it didn't happen that much then. Well, they still had the idea, but, you know, it was the ones that had mamas that the ladies would classify as women of ill repute, who did all of the crazy gang banging stuff, as they call it now. So, as I said, it disappeared after summer '65 and resurrected itself again about the time that, well, Nixon got in office and J. Edgar and the boys started jacking the black community around on purpose. Certain somebody that I know or knew named Tookie Williams was an interesting young man when he was 11 and 12-year-old on a playground where I was one of the playground directors, volunteer playground director. He was a very smart young man, had a lot of promise. And myself and some of the other directors, we tried to get him out of the situation, but we couldn't undo what his mama was doing. And he couldn't get out of the swamp. So what he wound up doing was becoming baddest alligator in the swamp, and he wound up starting the gang himself. He wrote 6 children's books while he was sitting on death row, and they probably should have, commuted his sentence to life in penitentiary, but he wound up being the last person executed on California's death row some years ago. So it is what it is. It's not pleasant, but, you know, we are sometimes our own worst enemy. We had another somebody on the playground that made it too. Mm-hmm. They put his age up. You know him as the singer Barry White, but I remember him as a skinny little 13-year-old.
Oh, he was skinny. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's all kinds of things that, you know, you never can tell how they're going to work out because they are what they are.
Well, and what makes about the Tukey thing, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California, but it seems like they wanted to commute it, but he wouldn't confess to the crime. Like he said he did a lot of dirty things, but he didn't do that particular crime that he was on death row for. So does it speak to a type of integrity on his part?
Well, yeah, but you know, I remember him. He had character. I mean, he had principle. And I've run into some of the people that were adults working with that playground who ran into him later, and he'd have his gangsters out there acting as security, you know. Mm-hmm. So he had a good side. I mean, he got ruthless, sometimes vicious, but we were on, the playground was at a place called Trinity Avenue Elementary School, and it's probably, or was at one time, one of the worst in the whole LA system. It was not a nice place. Wow. But the playground director, the chief, was Cliff Stewart, who's still a friend of mine 50-some years later. We're homeboys. And there was another guy, now Dr. Chappelle. And those two were karate enthusiasts, and now both of them are great martial artists. And they started teaching me 50 years ago on martial arts, so I know a little myself. But we got the respect of the community, and every now and then somebody would show up with a bandage around his head and an arm in the sling, like, hey, man, what happened to you? Oh, well, I messed up, man. Stomped at his head, come down here, man, and filed here on the playground. All right, brother, we got you covered. We got something for you. We wound up showing movies, and for a while before we started showing movies, which we pulled off a trick so we could get them, there were no movie theaters in the hood, so every Wednesday we'd take 150 to 200 first through 7th graders downtown. We got some UCLA students to give them rides down there using UCLA university vehicles. So it'd be three guys, me, Chappelle, and Stewart, and the three of us would have 200 kids in there, and they wouldn't utter a peep. But that's just the influence of masculinity on the situation. It kept the situation coherent and orderly. But to give an example, there was a woman we used to call Fanny. She was a student too. She had her girls, or the ladies, let's say, and they had this program they had, so they had maybe 9 or 10 kids. So the 11 or 12 women would go down with the 9 or 10 kids, and we didn't like them to come because they couldn't control the 9 or 10 kids. So when they lost control, that would start having a cascade effect on the other kids. So we'd have to jump in spite of them getting angry about us jumping in and exert control. So one of the things that's not going on is this kind of an intimidation factor. It's like the lion cub looks at daddy lion, and he's got big claws and long teeth, and he's a real formidable animal, and he's seen dad kill lunch. So he reacts accordingly. So when you throw that masculinity at the kid, they go, oh, I don't think I need to tangle with this little chump over here I might, but these guys, no, I better listen. Ain't no fool. But I was just reading the other day, I saw it online, it was an article. It was how to deal with problem kids who are about to drive you to pulling your hair out without raising your voice or trying to or even thinking about spanking them. I mean, I've been to places now where they've got unruly kids around and the parents sound like they're at a convention for child psychologists. William, don't you think that's a better way that you can handle this? William, you're upsetting your mother, William. You should find a more effective means of expressing yourself. No, just smack him on his behind once, and that cures the problem. You can explain later. But they don't get that.
Wow, but you talk about that, and it's like with this young brother, the rapper who got killed. I read somewhere his brother talked to the L.A. Times, and he said that, people said, why did nobody shoot back at the guy who shot his brother, was because he was known for hiring felons to work his stores. And, as a felon, you can't carry a gun. So This dude was allowed to shoot this guy several times. He made several trips back to the guy and shot him several times, including the last time when he shot the brother in the head. So his brother said, hey, so can we make the case, you think guns are a good thing then, the hell, to deter that type of stuff?
Let's put it this way. What I looked at on the video, he would have had, if not the opportunity to defend himself, he would have had the opportunity maybe of reducing the severity of his wounds and surviving.
Right.
There were 3 people that got shot. I looked at it, and the person was kind of clumsy and really did not look too capable with a firearm.
Right. But, people say it was like military precision. I said, he shot him at point blank range. If you couldn't hit nobody at point blank range, you just ain't, you know what I'm saying?
And basically what he did is he reached out and almost touched the person with the
gun. Exactly.
He was doing some of that John Wick stuff, where he grabbed bam, bam, with the muzzle up against the body of the victim, though that doesn't work with most semi-autos. It'll cause a malfunction, but, it's a fight, but it didn't need to go there. That was a shame because it should have just been mano a mano. Let's talk. If it's that bad, let's fight it out.
Yeah, but the guy, they said, like I read the brother account in L.A. Times, the guy was shaking his hand. They had a cordial talk. It wasn't like some people were saying there was an argument because they said the guy was an informant, and Nipsey was telling the guy, don't come around here because you're an informant. But Nipsey was going to talk to the LAPD the next day about trying to stop allegedly gang violence. So it's all kind of weird to me.
The guy was doing some good stuff in his neighborhood. That's commendable. It's very commendable. It's unfortunate he got killed because he's one of the few that took it upon himself to do something. But see, in L.A., you got to have all kinds of connections to get a handgun carry permit.
Wow.
It's legal to have it in your business, but I lived in Ventura County, so I had a permit, and once you get one in California, it's good throughout the whole state. So like it or not, the sheriff in Ventura County where I lived when I was out there, he was progressive about it, so I had one. So when I went and visited the hood, you know, I was always strapped down.
Now, it's interesting to me that this guy, like you said, he had connections. Like he had some interesting connections. It's like he would have been able to get a permit or something for him.
No, you don't. It ain't like that.
Okay.
I mean, there are people, I know a few people in L.A. One of them is always raising money for the police department, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tailor. And he's got an upstairs scale tailoring business. But, you know, most people don't have one. Another homeboy I hung with, he had one. He acted as security, but he didn't get it in L.A. He got it in another county in California.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you don't happen in California. I think there are 3 counties where the sheriff issues permits on a regular basis, and that's about it. And they got all kinds of stupid laws in California now dealing with handguns. All kinds. They got some progressive law left over that the idiots haven't found out about. Been on the books for 100 years, but they even have the thing because the handgun carry permit's so bad that if you have a reasonable belief that you are in personal danger, you may carry a firearm even if you're otherwise not possessed of a permit. Now, I don't think they've changed that law in the last few years, but that's been on the books for a long time. And every now and then, if somebody gets busted with a firearm, and they say, well, you know, I was collecting insurance policy money, or, you know, I have to drop these deposits off. Well, yeah, you can get yourself robbed, so a judge would dismiss the charges and the person could get his peace back. That happens. And then there's this other thing about before somebody gets to the point of being searched, the police have to have some reasonable cause. And like I tell folk, you know, it's hard for a cop to justify talking about he had a suspicion of somebody in a business suit.
Mm-hmm.
But when you walking around looking like you ought to be pushing a grocery cart with lawn bags in it, looking tacky as you can be, well, you sort of leave yourself wide open to getting jacked up.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that you might be able to get away with carrying a gun if your life was in danger. Because they were saying last week with Nipsey that they was doing a video shoot. He was doing a video shoot with John Legend and this other guy named DJ Khaled. They had to hire 10 armed security guards to protect him on the video shoot in L.A.
No doubt.
So why would he be comfortable just walking around? I mean, if his life was in danger like that, he was getting these death threats, why would you think he would be comfortable while his bodyguard's on duty or not even having anything on him in the neighborhood like that?
Well, let's put it this way. The world is getting real stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, for example, you have a situation where they did this in England, where a few years ago they abolished the right to self-defense.
What? They did what they did in England.
Yeah, they said it was better for someone to suffer bodily harm or death than it was for them to fight back. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Wow.
Now, my understanding is that they have rescinded that, but that's how stupid people get.
I can't believe that.
We've got another stupid thing going right now where black people are all up in arms about They need to get rid of stand your ground. That's why Trayvon got shot. Well, that isn't why he got shot. The person that had the right to stand his ground was not Zimmerman. It was Trayvon Martin.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that lying Anderson Cooper, who's got a thing about guns, he's gay, so he hates them. Not all gays, I guess, hate them. I don't know, but most
Yeah, I don't think I'll
seem to have a problem with them.
Uh-huh.
He started pushing that stuff from the pulpit of CNN about stand your ground and castle doctrine. And it was very much false information deliberately delivered to the public to propagandize them for his particular philosophical position, which is anti-gun, because castle doctrine only applies inside of or next to a home on somebody's property, and that is not where Trayvon got shot, so that doesn't apply. And the stand your ground thing, well, there were less than 10 states that adopted something other than stand your ground, and they had a retreat doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tennessee has always had a no retreat, stand your ground state. In fact, the charge that was delivered to a jury in a murder trial, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the defendant has raised the defense of self-defense, and if you find, et cetera, and now the defendant had no requirement or obligation to retreat. He was entitled to stand his ground. Now, in states, the less than 10 states that had retreat, that meant that if you were attacked, you had to attempt to flee. But the problem with that was what if it was a guy with his wife, and what's he supposed to do? Run off and devil take the hindmost and leave his wife there, or his sick mother, or his sick father, or uncle, or aunt? You know, and they had stuff that to rationalize this nonsense. They charged the jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you find that the defendant made any effort of retreat, howsoever slight, such as raising one heel as though to shift his weight rearward in a fashion as though to remove himself, that will be sufficient. Oh, man, come on, you know? So stand your ground is a good thing. It means you don't have to run. But if you got a punk-ass idea about reality, oh, they got to run. Well, you know, you can't run fast enough to beat 800-900 feet per second. So that's you're dead, you know. If somebody knows how to shoot, running away isn't going to do you any good.
Now, let me ask you this, too, because I know I read the LA Times article with the brother of the rapper who got killed, and he was wondering to himself, was this some, like, gang stuff, or was this, like, a assassination? Like, was it, well, you know, an execution with some other strings being pulled? Because, as you know, on Sunday on Slauson, it's very crowded and compact. So how was he able, or congested rather, how was he able to get away and stay away for almost over 2 days?
It's easy enough. Somebody's packing, there's gunfire, everybody's getting out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to play, well, there's not even a hero then, somebody's getting away. You know, you're not the cop, let them do that. So what's supposed to happen? You jump up, you're under arrest. Oh, bad move. Get yourself gunned down that way.
Well, what about the young lady who assisted him in getting away? She's not charged with anything.
She said she didn't realize that was going to happen. Now, I've run into that often enough with clients or in the courtroom to know that's sometimes a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, drop me off. Yeah, man, okay, cool. Can you wait, man? I just want to go in and get a pack of some aspirin, man. I got a headache. All right, I'll be in.
Mm-hmm.
Come running back. Let's go, man. Got to book it, man. You know, hey, well, you know, what time it is, man. You know, no big deal. I just saw somebody I don't need to be around here looking at. Okay, cool. And you didn't know that there was gunfire.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. And then the other thing is a practical matter. the issue is, does the state want to get somebody for murder in the first degree and criminal attempt murder in the first degree, or do they want to get somebody for being an accessory? You need a witness. So do you want the person you're after for first degree murder to be the witness after the person that you would rather have is a witness to put the murderer on the scene?
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, because she did turn herself in on Monday, though. She did turn herself in the next day.
I mean, it's not like they do in the movies. See, most of the time on a homicide, unless there is somebody that is going to tell, or somebody that wasn't part of it, or somebody that runs their mouth off, they can't solve a murder usually. It takes a while, if they ever do. Murder is one of the most unsolved crimes going. Why? Very good reason why. The best witness is dead. Is a reality.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't work like they show it in the movies.
Yeah, cause I keep on thinking like Perry Mason, like people say, oh, like Law and Order. Let's say better yet, Law and Order, it gets solved in an hour. Everybody, dot your I's and cross your T's, it gets solved in an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. They solve it in the hour. It's damn things on.
Now, Judge, I got to ask you this, because you from L.A., you saw both sides of the law. I mean, you served on both sides. I mean, as far as criminal defense and also prosecutor.
I didn't do that in L.A.
Oh, but you grew up in L.A. though. But you was an activist on UCLA campus. You knew a bunch of Carter, all them guys.
Neighborhood too.
Right. I just want to get your opinion. I mean, like you also was involved in the Dr. King's assassination case. You played a big role in that. And I just want to get your take. Do you believe, is it possible? All the things you've been through, your experiences in life and all this stuff, could it be possible that this guy was actually, it was a professional hit done on Nipsey? That he was
it might have been.
Why do you think that could have happened? Could there be a possibility?
I mean, it could have been, but I mean, I don't know. See, you're asking me to speculate, and one of the things I think the press has done badly to the citizenry over the last 60 years is to start this speculation process. What they need to do is, we are a news outlet. We will bring you the latest news, and we will return to our regular programming.
Well, it's 24 hours news cycle, though.
Wait and see what the hell happens.
But it got the 24-hour thing. The social media don't help either, because everybody got an opinion. You get to hear everybody's opinion now.
It started off with CNN, who had that 24/7 format, and quite frankly, there is not enough news to make it worth 24 hours a day unless there's a war going on. So they just got in the habit over the last 30 years of glorifying every damn thing with the semblance of importance, and they have slowly conditioned the public to being enthused about the talking heads speculating on what's going on.
Let me ask you this. You think that people, we're talking on the 51st anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, and it took decades for things to come together for it to be found in court of law that the government was complicit, elements of the government was complicit in the killing of Dr. King. Is it possible? I mean, do you think it's right for people to dismiss people who question the official story? Like some of the people on social media say, I don't know. I don't know. I go along with the LAPD thing because I know the history of the LAPD, like the O.J. Simpson case. Like black folks knew the history of the LAPD as it relates to the black community in L.A.
That's why O.J. got acquitted. And then one thing that the press has not done is 4 of the chief detectives on the O.J. case went to jail for falsifying evidence in other cases, and they had to let 128 people out of the California penitentiary because of that. It was called the Ramparts
No, yes, sir.
precinct scandal.
That was one of the biggest in the history of the country.
Yeah, but see, the press never brought that to the public's attention. In other words, maybe there was something to it. These guys all went to the penitentiary for falsifying and planting evidence.
So, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I saw the press conference for Nipsey Hussle with the LAPD brass. They crying and stuff about they were going to meet with him on that Monday to discuss how to curb gang violence. But, you know, just a few short years ago, they were harassing Nipsey and his people for selling tapes and stuff on the property without renting out the facility. I mean, it actually was confiscating their goods and harassing them and taking them to jail. So all of a sudden, like, he's friends with police?
That's another thing. There is a thriving business in L.A. of selling bootleg tapes and DVDs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Movies, you name it. I know places where I could send my chauffeur and he'd come back with any movie I wanted.
It's a hustling town, man. L.A.'s a hustler's town.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't think it's odd that the police would have this, like, you know, considering the history of the LAPD with the black community, that they act like they had, like, really a good relationship with this guy, this rapper, who's a former gang banger.
They have always had, LA and otherwise, this thing where you have some intelligent officers and some that aren't bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know one guy, I've known him for years. He is retired now, but he used to be in charge of LAPD's gang squad.
Okay.
And he always was an intelligent person who did what was necessary to reduce tension. I even had a first cousin that was a cop out in L.A. Haven't seen him for a long time. Spoke to him for the first time in 40-some years, but, you know, it's what it is. Prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
You know,
so you get people who want to do something about being a cure. You got people who don't care. I've seen cops pull up to 10 or 11 brothers standing on the corner waiting on a bus to go to work and say, hey, man, some of you guys want some of this? Come here. You want a piece of ass, man? You know, like, let's get it on. Yeah, you think you're bad? Can you take us? Like, what the hell's wrong with these fools? I've seen it.
Yes, sir. See, I remember, like, some years ago, I think it was probably either like 2000, I was reading a Jet magazine article. Y'all had a black police chief out there, right? Bernard Parks, what was his name?
Yep, he wound up on the city council.
Right, but I remember when his beautiful granddaughter got killed in the drive-by at Popeyes.
Yeah.
What was that about? They said they were trying to aim for her passenger, but I don't know what was that trying to send him a message because it's doing the Rampart stuff, right?
No, I don't think they were sending one to him. It was just it's dangerous being in L.A.
And she was gorgeous too. She was beautiful.
Well, the block I grew up on in L.A. actually, it's more dangerous walking around that block while it's still daylight.
Wow.
Than it would be to be in uniform in downtown Baghdad in 2003.
Wow.
I mean, I can remember vividly when I was in junior high school, you know, you just didn't walk around the corner. You'd sort of peep around to see if there was somebody there you didn't want to see.
And that's when you was growing up, right? This was not like in the 80s or not, this when you was growing up.
Yeah, that's when I was growing up.
I mean, did they have a lot of gunplay back then, or wasn't there really much that gunplay? Just more like
they had gunplay. I mean, it wasn't as bad then as it is now, but it was pretty much confined to gang stuff rather than just insane. Everybody shoot everybody.
Wow.
Like it is now. See, they got a lot of people that hate themselves, and they want to die because they don't have any purpose for living. And if they can provoke you into doing them the favor of taking their own life, then they've accomplished their purposes. But in the process of trying to provoke you, the provocation is such that they may take your life before you get provoked enough to take theirs.
Wow. It's like the kid that shot the guy, the rapper. It's like he had really nothing to lose. Like he was just on the bottom rung. And this guy had everything to live for. The Nipsey Russell Hustle guy.
Here's what it is. You see, that's why manhood is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you got manhood, when you look in the mirror, the control factor that keeps you in line is staring back at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, hey, did I do the right thing yesterday? Am I going to do the right thing today? Did I do something yesterday I shouldn't have done? And you get on your case and see, when times are bad, if you got manhood, what happens is that you take it in terms of, it may be bad for me, but I have obligations as a man, and even if it looks horrible, if I can't find daylight at the end of the tunnel, I'm going to still kick ass and plow through that tunnel filled with smoke, fire, and flames, and fire-breathing Gila monsters because I got to protect those people I'm obligated to protect. So you keep on pushing. Whereas if you didn't have manhood, you just give up. And, you know, I'm 23, I won't see 24. That kind of stupid nonsense.
My thing is like, I think about him, and I know I got to ask your opinion. When I thought about this Nipsey Hussle character, I was aware of him when he was alive. I didn't really listen to his music like that. But I was aware of him. I didn't know all the good he was doing until he died, unfortunately. But he reminds me, you guys speak on this yourself, Judge, because you know better than I do. He reminds me a little bit of somebody like Bunchy Carter, who came from that same area, who was the leader of the Slossons. You knew well.
Yeah.
Try to, unite the gang.
I recruited Bunchy Carter to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Bunchy Carter, he'd gone to the penitentiary, and he taught himself to read, write, and stuff like that, and start writing poetry. So we wound up recruiting him to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't read too well when he went in the pen, but he came out, and he was a good student.
Mm-hmm.
He got killed by people in the US organization, and the US organization had been composed mostly of ex-members of a gang known as the Businessmen.
Mm.
So somewhere about 1968, a lot of old Slossons were getting out of the penitentiary, and they became part of the Panther Party, 67 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And the Businessmen, they became part of Ron Karenga's US organization. Now, the thing that most people in L.A. would tell you is that grew up out there would say the US organization was snitches.
Mm.
Ron Karenga had an agreement with the FBI and the SIS unit, the LAPD, to snitch on the black community in return for some immunity for some of the stuff they were doing. Wasn't too cool.
Wow. But I know, just looking at interviews conducted with Geronimo Pratt, who was a Panther, as you know him too.
I recruited him.
But he believed to his dying day that the FBI, the government, had more to escalate the schism or rift between the Panthers and the US organization. The UCLA thing was the FBI involvement. They caused that to happen.
Well, the FBI had been promoting Ron Karenga.
Mm-hmm.
as a way to demoralize the black community. See, it got so bad with the US organization and some other entities that nobody could trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a community meeting and you try to get something done, and then the next thing you know, you're getting hauled up in front of the FBI and they want to interrogate you, and they're quoting to you verbatim something you said at the meeting.
Wow.
And there were us people there taking shorthand notes.
Wow.
So you go, okay, or others. So it got to the point where you couldn't trust anybody. And you can't have community unity if you can't get with your people to get unified, because you can't trust them.
Yeah, trust can never be overrated, man. Wow.
See, so it was not a good thing.
I mean, Judge, it's great talking to you because your insight, man. You live an extraordinary life, and like people need to hear this perspective because it was good to hear on social media. One good thing I liked was hearing people from LA's experiences, you know, with the gang culture, with LA culture, with the gangs, with the police out there. They was talking about what happened on Slauson that Sunday night because it disturbed me because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, Judge.
Well, there's more to it. See, one thing that the media hasn't picked up is let's drop back 12 years.
Okay.
On just about that same location on Western and Slauson, some pregnant girl was upset because some other girl supposedly looked at her boyfriend who didn't consider himself to be her boyfriend.
Okay.
So she got her posse together. The other girl got her posse together, and the fools were putting up posters on, well, little flyers on, they were nailing up to telephone poles talking about they were going to have it out at the parking lot of the business, which is right there where this took place.
Wow.
Very close to it. So they went in there and it was girls fighting it out, about 40 of them. And the pregnant girl got run over by somebody's car and killed, and somebody's other girl got shot.
Wow.
I mean, it's just not.
And these was all girls doing this, right? It was like an all-out girl fight, right?
Yeah,
wow.
that's where I came up with the term girl-rillas.
Gorillas. That's wow. I never thought about that.
See,
Gorillas.
It's a thing that you have to take into consideration. It used to be guys would be getting real raunchy, you know, and then a woman walked in. Oh, man, hey, man, woman's in here. Well, ma'am, we apologize. We didn't mean for you to hear this. Now the woman walks in there, she's cussing and carrying on and acting a bigger fool than the guys are.
Wow.
And somebody's mama comes in, and the mama uses more MFs and B's and H's and when she talks than the guys do.
Yep. That's a different world, man.
Well, it's all part of that thing of emasculating the public. These things that you see are not manly. See, men have protocols, even when it comes to war, the Geneva Convention, rules of war, rules of engagement, you know, war crimes, mandatory 8-count in boxing, move to a neutral corner if there's a knockdown, you know, shake hands and come out good, clean fight, no hitting below the belt. A whole bunch of thousands worth of folk are trying to kill each other, and somebody waves a white flag, everything stops so they can parlay. Men have rules. But you see, when you feminize them, you get rid of the rules.
See, that's what people are saying, like the way whoever killed Nipsey, they didn't follow the rules of the game. They broke the code the way they did it. They made the block real hot. That was not the appropriate way to handle that. That's what people were saying. I don't know. I don't know the codes and all that. But I just want to ask you.
I don't think they really have a code these days.
Yeah.
What I hear is, oh man, why you do that? Look, man, dude, this the organization, man. Like, hey, he was ranking the game, man. Got a lot of cheddar to be made, gold to be won, and ladies to be played. And he's sitting up there ranking one of the hoes, man. got her falling in love. Why don't you just punch it out with him? You look here, I earn my living sometimes with these hoes. You think I'm going to get scars on my face from fighting somebody? No, I'm going to bust the cap on his behind, you know?
Wow.
Yes, that's got too much mama in it, you know. Huh? You got too much of your mama in it. What you mean, my mama? I said, what you going to do about it? I'm calling about you. You can't do a damn thing. You sitting over there in the prisoner's docket. I'm on this bench. You know, my address is listed if you want to go send your homies by there. That's when they had the phone directory, you know. But, I mean, I need something to vent my frustration and release a little tension. Send some by. We can dance, you know, hey, ain't no problem. But you punk. You got too much of your mama in you.
Now, it's interesting. It's like he had a close relationship with his father. That, you know, they had family business with this guy. But also, I want to ask you this then, what the alleged shooter of the guy, they said that 2 of his family members were killed while they was looking for him. Is that's how they do things out there?
It happens. See, we sometimes are our own worst enemy. And people always say, man, all the righteous brothers are doing time in the penitentiary. Hardly wait for them to get out so they can assume the leadership role. Now, you don't want that. See, these folk are not in the penitentiary for playing Robin Hood, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. They were robbing the poor, raping the poor, selling poison to the poor, burglarizing the poor, jacking the poor, you know, all kinds of things to their neighbors.
And Judge, too, I got to ask you, man, it's been my mind because people kept on saying that, you know, you got to, you know, when you make it to a certain level, to a certain status in society, especially as a black person or a black man in particular, you got to leave the hood. You cannot have any connections with the hood. You can't live there no more. You don't need to be hanging around the hood no more. What are your thoughts about that?
You can have connections, but it ain't cool to live there because I had a place here in Memphis over in the hood. But after getting burglarized the 5th or 6th time, I just got tired of it. I found myself leaving the windows open, waiting for somebody to walk in or climb in, and I got my pistol in my lap.
Wow.
You know?
But what does it say as, like, when you talking about this is the hood or this the projects or this Section 8, and then the white folks, the white developers come knock it down and build like multi-million-dollar condominiums and business suites and stuff like that?
It's a two-edged sword. When they do that, the people they displace have to go somewhere. So what these same developers do is go find a place where they got $600,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million homes, and come up with something that tears the neighborhood down, like putting in a big 840-unit apartment complex for moderate and low income and Section 8 housing, and destroy the upscale neighborhood so they can bring in the people who were displaced through gentrification.
Yes, sir.
And worry about re-gentrifying the area some years later.
Oh, man, this is just a game, man. It's bullshit.
It's a game. Oh, man. The way to stop that nonsense is to have astute and effective city planning. But we don't have it here because the name of the game in Memphis is crooked. This is probably the most corrupt place for its size in America. Chicago's bigger, and that place has got so much corruption. That's
the culture right there.
Jesse Smollett up there.
We're going to talk about that,
too. By the way, you would not, in my opinion, you would not be outrageous if you said there was a connection between what happened in this mayor's race and how Jesse Smollett got cut loose.
You read my mind. Tell me what you think about that, the connection.
I think it is a damn disgrace. And the state's attorney, we'd call him a DA around here, district attorney, told on herself.
Oh, they trying to get rid of her, yeah.
When she thought it was Juicy Jesse that got jacked, she was meeting with his family. So when the police advised that, no, he set this up, we're going to bust him, she recused herself from prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
You got at least 16 indictments for felonies.
Mm-hmm.
But what does the DA do or the state's attorney do? She gets back in it after she excused herself for a conflict of interest for having met with Jesse's family, which she never should have done. She comes in and says, we're going to null prosecute, which means nolo prosequi, which means they're going to drop the charges.
Mm-hmm.
They issue a statement, and it says, this is not to be understood as exonerating Smollett. In fact, the police have a very strong case against him. However, it is now the policy of this office that we are not going to waste time prosecuting nonviolent felonies, and we will concentrate on violent felonies. Now, you go tell that to all of the people you got in jail in Chicago for selling drugs, DUI, shoplifting, theft, or larceny, bad checks, credit card fraud. I can see the lawyers lining up now, filing motions, talking about disparate treatment. You let one guy out saying it was a nonviolent felony, and they had 16 indictments. My client only has 3 against him. 3 counts. You had 16 or maybe 19, depending upon how you count it.
Well, Judge, what about the situation in Texas with their motorcycle gang war, a little mini war they had several years ago? All 177 indictments were dropped in that case.
Well, maybe they had a matter they couldn't prove. See,
I mean, but people actually got killed behind that, right? You get people got killed.
But see, that's nothing new. I had 6 first-degree murder trials in my courtroom, and the woman who just got pardoned and let out of jail, Johnson, was freely spoken of as the person who had taken out the hits. So the American law says you cannot convict somebody on the uncorroborated statements or evidence of an accomplice. In other words, you got to have something independent of somebody telling on you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Even if they're a snitch like Sammy the Bull Gravano, a murderous snitch.
Yeah, but that wasn't all they had. See, the reason he became a snitch is because John Gotti was running his mouth off, bragging and criticizing, and the FBI recorded him pulling the covers off of Gravano.
Mm-hmm.
So Gravano said, oh, hell no, I ain't taking a dive on this one. Not because he ran his mouth off.
Well, like I said, ain't no under thieves. Mm-hmm.
But you see, they had an eyewitness, the Bull, and the other thing is that they had the tape and they had the actual criminal offenses with enough evidence to hook them up.
This law stuff is fascinating. I got to ask you about the Trump thing. He said
let me just give one word on the law stuff that needs to be understood.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is you have to really stop thinking of these criminal rights and think of them as citizens' rights, because the same things that allow somebody to be convicted of a crime are the same things that allow political oppression. So you want the government to be an honest government as far as you can, and if it can't be honest, you don't want it to be an oppressive government. That being the case, you limit its power. So when you go through this whole thing of a defendant's rights, you're also between the lines saying that you don't want the government to get used to violating people's rights because they can do that for political purposes.
Yeah.
Habeas corpus got used often in New York back in the 19th century. Why? Because Tammany Hall used to have its cops on the dole go in and arrest political opponents 2 and 3 days before an election. on trumped up charges.
Wow.
So what a better way to win an election than to have your opponent locked up?
Okay, let me ask you this. Then I got to get back to Chicago if I go to Trump. Then I got to ask you about the R. Kelly thing, based on what's going on with the DA or the state attorney Kim Foxx and also Michael Avenatti. Should they question the chain of evidence? How what the evidence? Can we trust the evidence of being
For what? On which
on R. Kelly? On the R. Kelly, the tapes came from Michael Avenatti, right? And this guy been
that
arrested.
doesn't make any difference. I mean, it's see. Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Crime is crime, but there's some crimes that imply what they call moral turpitude.
Okay.
Second-degree murder used to not be a crime of moral turpitude. The crimes that involved moral turpitude were larceny, that's stealing from somebody, perjury, which involved lying, embezzlement, which involved cheating, arson, treason, kidnapping, and first-degree murder. Because you were low down enough to plot killing somebody versus just killing them. So some people might have committed other crimes but been perfectly honest people as long as it didn't involve stealing. Robbery was in there too because it involved a theft.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you could be a violent person, but you could be honest. But if the crime involved something where it required dishonesty to commit, then that caused you to be rendered infamous.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people who commit crimes, but that does not keep them from being honest witnesses. And that's up to a jury to determine whether somebody is honest.
Mm-hmm. I just think with Avenatti's track record, he's very sleazy. He comes off as sleazy.
What's he
and
been
shady.
convicted of?
Oh well, they arrested him. The feds did for trying to allegedly extort Nike for $20 million.
Yeah, but what's he been convicted of?
Nothing. Not to my knowledge, nothing.
There you go.
Well, I'm looking at him through the eyes of the media, though. He's being tried.
Yeah, but
by
the media is ignorant. The media doesn't know the law. The media doesn't give a damn about it. They have an agenda which is to screw up the masculinity in the country because most of them are gay. Not that they don't have a right to be gay, but they're doing the same thing the Nazis did. They're using their positions to propagandize the public to the public's detriment. And what's going on is they are giving you falsehoods. But you see, you can be accused of all kinds of stuff, but the Supreme Court has said over and over again, you can't consider it unless the person is convicted.
But once they put it out there, though, it's like, man, you can't get that off.
Let's go back.
Mm-hmm.
You know who Wyatt Earp is?
Yes, sir.
Bat Masterson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One person you and I don't like and your mother doesn't like, Nathan Bedford Forrest, but he had a big following.
Right, he does.
Did Nathan Bedford Forrest get indicted for murder in the state of Tennessee?
I mean, he killed a lot of white men.
No, I mean, but indicted for it and stood trial several times on separate occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The same thing with the other people. Pat Masterson went to trial and got indicted for murder. Wyatt Earp got indicted for murder on a separate occasion and went to trial on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Bill Hickok got charged with murder and went to trial on it, but got acquitted.
He killed his own deputy, right, by mistake. Who was that? Wild Bill Hickok?
He didn't get charged for that.
Okay.
Justifiable homicide, a mistake. Negligence, but not criminal culpability.
These guys would not be good cops today, I don't think.
Actually, they'd be in jail.
That's what I'm thinking. It'll be too bad. They couldn't cover this stuff what they was doing.
Well, they used to have a saying about police England and versus America.
Mm-hmm.
If you brought an English cop to America, he'd be dead in 2 weeks, and if you brought an American cop to England, he'd be in the penitentiary in 2 weeks.
I can see that. So the England cops don't carry no guns, right? They call them bobbies or something.
Yeah,
And they don't carry no guns.
But they'll beat you across the head.
I believe that. But they got a knifing problem over there, ain't it? People go around knifing people.
Yeah, but they also have guns too now.
Oh, okay. They caught up with us.
No, they haven't caught up with us. They don't regularly carry the guns.
Okay. Interesting. But these are the same folks that say you couldn't defend yourself, right? You have no right to self-defense. These are the same folks that brought us that. But they took it back. Okay, yeah. They sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see, they still have gun crime over there because the hardware gets smuggled in.
Right.
They don't have borders over there now, or they may soon when Brexit gets in full force and effect.
But do you think that Americans, like some, especially politicians, they overdoing it with trying to control people's guns? Like, I mean,
yeah. See, the point of the exercise is this: what the Second Amendment is all about is that the citizens are as well armed as the governmental authorities are. Guess what? That makes it very unlikely for the government to become a tyranny and impose a dictatorship.
See, you listen to the alt-right, what they call them, the alt-right, the white nationalists. Yeah. Sometimes they make good points, but then they start talking about their racism stuff. They be losing me on it.
Well, yeah. But you see, what's interesting is the left doesn't act so racist. They just act anti-masculine.
Oh, very much so.
And
oh, my God.
Interesting contrast to what used to be the case. The left is the one that adopts the Nazi-like tactics these days.
Yeah, you see, it's crazy. It's the women of the left, though, that is like, what's going on?
Exactly. See, that's what comes from emotionalism that they promoted. In other words, I want, but no, you can't get what you want because there's some rules. Well, hell with the rules. He needs to be in jail. By any means, no, it doesn't work that way.
Well, what's your take on that Cortez girl, that AOC, notorious AOC?
She needs to grow up.
I mean, but they said we want a woman president in 2020, though. That was we want a woman president in 2020.
I'll tell you.
Where? Which one?
I'm leaving the country if they get a woman president.
I don't see the one. Please don't let Oprah run. Please. Oh, my God. Do not let Oprah think about running.
Any of the women who have announced, no.
Not even Elizabeth Warren. Not even it was Trump called Pocahontas.
Elizabeth Warren is one of the worst. She's an emotional little heffet. Excuse me. The lady does yield to her emotions on entirely too many occasions. Upon observation and scrutiny.
Wow. But should she get in trouble for lying about being an Indian, getting all that scholarship money?
No. Statute of limitations ran, and nobody has charged her, and they'd have to prove it.
But she took that ancestry stuff.
I know, but you see, that's like Kamala Harris claiming to be black.
Man, oh my God, Judge, I don't know. I don't think it'd be a bad thing for people to sit out 2020, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what? Trump just got through pushing a bill to reform criminal justice. Isaiah Washington was in the White House this week speaking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Isaiah got 3,000 people out of jail.
Isaiah Washington. Wow. The guy, I heard them shows you were doing on your show, man. I had some great chemistry. So he got three. Why don't get no publicity? How many people Kim Kardashian got out of jail?
Yeah, I know, but they blackballed him in Hollywood. He would not support the gay thing. So that's why he got fired from
Grey's Anatomy. That was messed up. But Judge, it's just weird to me that I can't believe that the lesbian mayor, they didn't get more play in the media. they didn't really push that nationally, it seems. Well, man, I may be mistaken. Like, it didn't get as much
Chicago?
play. Yeah, in Chicago.
They played the hell out of it, especially in England. But the deal is it was the lowest vote they'd had for a mayor's election in Chicago for 60 years. They had 2 women running. Most of the people that I know say, I didn't vote, man. What? Neither one of them smelled right to me.
Mm. But, it is Chicago, though. Who really got to vote in Chicago for somebody to win an election? Folks vote in Chicago.
Actually, the vote count was the lowest in 60 years. Some years.
So why you don't think that's by design, though, that they wanted these women to run at this particular time, especially with the Jussie Smollett thing?
That's what the Democratic Party is doing. One of the women, the one that won, was a nobody who depended upon her lesbian status to galvanize the gay community. And since there was a low vote turnout, those people who had that special interest at heart turned out heavily. So it helped her. But the other woman was an activist in the Democratic Party, but the idea of 2 women being in office just didn't excite anybody. In fact, turned a whole lot of people off who just stayed home.
Now, was the other woman gay too, or she wasn't gay?
No, I don't think she's gay.
Okay.
Or I haven't heard anything that says she was.
But the one that won, not only she's a lesbian in the open, but she got a white partner.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Man,
so
Chicago is interesting.
The gay community.
Yeah.
See, that's what I think is being strategized with the Democratic Party. If they get all women in this, they get a low turnout. And if they get a low turnout, they'll get a woman as a candidate.
Sure,
and
for president.
If they get a woman as a candidate, the lower the vote turnout they can engender. In other words, people that stay home, I'm not voting for anybody, the better chance they get to get a woman in as a first woman president.
I see that backfire still, because I think women still want Trump more than want a woman president.
Oh, well, yeah.
No matter how the turnout is.
Actually, other than Bernie Sanders, I think Trump is still the superior commodity compared to all of the rest of the Democratic Party, but for Sanders, who at heart is an independent, as was Trump. Trump just co-opted the Republican Party, but the Democratic Party, because they had that super delegate thing they put in place a few years ago to ensure Hillary Clinton getting the nomination, that just kept the will of the people from being carried out.
Yeah,
so
but Trump
raised more money than any other Democratic candidate, but if you listen to the Democratic Party, they aren't interested.
Yeah, what do you think about that Andrew Yang character, the Chinese American or Asian American that's running for the White House?
He doesn't have the experience, and he doesn't have, the Romans used to call it gravitas, the gravity.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to cut it, man. That's what the word, the gravitas word, that's what I wanted to say. He don't have that. I don't see him being like a political brawler. Like, he got some interesting ideas, but do he have the balls and the wherewithal to fight for those ideas to make them real? I think he lacks that.
You have to look at the really effective presidents.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to twist arms.
Oh, yeah.
LBJ, even Clinton to an extent. He did 5 terms as governor in one of the most corrupt states in the country, down here in Arkansas.
I think Arkansas is the biggest mob state to me. Rockefellers and all types of people there in Arkansas.
Yeah, well, FDR, you know, he was able to get away with double crossing the mafia.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But did he have the backing of Tammany Hall too? Did he have the backing of Tammany Hall? Roosevelt?
Yeah, and then see, Kennedy, background on Kennedy is Daddy Kennedy, Daddy Joe, was a bootlegger and a gangster and did a lot of joint venture with Al Capone out of Chicago. He was in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that movie with Tom Hanks, Road to Perdition, where he played the hitman?
Yes, sir.
The man he worked for was modeled on the senior Kennedy.
I believe that. I mean, they were close to the Daley machine, too. They were real good friends with Mayor Daley.
No, he wasn't. I'm not talking about. Daley was political.
Yeah.
I'm talking about before Daley. I'm talking about Al Capone.
Oh, I definitely agree with you, yeah. See that, now, Judge, Go ahead.
Kennedy was a contemporary of Al Capone.
Yeah.
He and Al Capone allegedly ran whiskey together.
I
Did
believe
joint ventures to bring big quantities of whiskey in. And see, the other thing with the senior Kennedy was labor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he did, he made a lot of money making sure black folk didn't jeopardize white folk working on the docks and in the warehouses in Boston.
See, you know, Judge, and you say that, I'm thinking about Nipsey Hussle again. Why are we not allowed to legitimize our ill-gotten gains and make it legitimate, like the Kennedys and these other powerful families? Like Lucky Luciano said, behind every great wealth, there's a great crime.
We're not ruthless enough. And we don't think in terms of getting something on the folk that are in power that can be used to manipulate them.
So we just ain't cut out for this type of stuff.
No, we could, but the bottom line is, you see, instead of our folk who have done something big time, paying off other folk, they have their hands out to get from the other folk.
Mm-hmm.
See, all those folk that got rounded up with Tennessee Waltz, that Sting thing, they weren't paying people off, they were getting paid off.
Bills were greedy and stupid, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was. Very greedy, very stupid.
Mm. But they'll try to get Harrington, though, right? But Harrington is too smart. He just...
No, see, the Harrington was busting corruption.
Mm-hmm.
The Doc's thing was he was making millions of dollars a year, not off of any of the penny ante Memphis stuff.
Mm.
He was getting paid being on boards of directors for major corporations.
Okay, I got you. So it was no conflict of interest or nothing like that on the table.
No conflict of interest. They were accusing him of petty stuff. I mean, what's $10,000-$12,000, which they were accusing him of getting when he's got $8-9 million he's bringing in outside of the mayor's salary for sitting on boards.
I hear you. That makes sense. But you know, they got his friend, the former mayor of Atlanta, though, Bill Campbell. He went to federal prison.
Well, he was an asshole, and I know something about that. I can't talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
but let's just say it this way: that a certain jerk in this who moved from Atlanta to Memphis
Mm-hmm.
induced the Atlanta mayor to get involved with him, was trying to induce our mayor here to get involved, who had a sense enough to say no. The mayor in Atlanta and the one here did not really get the idea that it was criminal.
Mm.
But the one here didn't get caught up in it.
So, Harrington, I think, like, I started thinking about what you said about Harrington. I think he really thinking about his legacy right now. He might try to finish the job. He might do right by the people.
Yeah.
I'm looking at other candidates, Judge. I don't know.
It's just all of this stupid stuff. See, we went through years of trying to get this runoff knocked out the box. And then these jackasses on the city council around here go along with having an instant runoff. And now the courts have held everything in abeyance.
Man, what's wrong with this town, man? Like, I look at that.
Look it. These Negroes do not see the big game. They're after little penny ante crap about paying a car note.
Right. It's everyday struggle stuff. But let me ask you about the Memphis 3.0 thing, this gentrification thing they doing in Memphis. Like, what you thought?
I just said what it is. See, the gentrification is their geographic locations. Where
Mm-hmm.
the valley crosses the river is downtown.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff going on in it. It had gone down. So they're gentrifying it, and they're moving reasonably affluent whites back down there, some blacks too. So the black folk who are poor that they have displaced with the gentrification, they are being brought out here. Like where I live, it's an upscale neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and they're building a middle school. Now, Germantown right now does not have enough middle school students to fill any significant numbers of classrooms at this school. But they're building an 840 unit within a quarter of a mile, half mile away and it's supposed to be moderate and low income housing. So they want to use the school as a draw for those black folk who say, okay, I want to get my kid in the Germantown school. So I'm going to move to this apartment complex, which, more power to them, except too many nephews are coming along and cousins coming along, and they've got another development down Forest Irene, 1.5 miles away. Now, that nice black neighborhood, there was a mixed neighborhood with those good homes out there. There was south and east of 385 in Forest Irene. Well, they got a burglary problem out there from the housing development that they put in just south of 385 on Forest Irene.
Wow.
So same thing happening here. They've got 6 or 7 for sale signs that have been plopped up in the last month on this area where I live right here. See, what they're doing with the school is it's kind of crazy. They've built the school right up next to these people's backyards, and there are no fences. So the people were saying put a fence around the school. So the school board was saying no, that would cause repression in the students. We don't want fences. Well, goddamn, we don't want them walking through our backyard.
Right, I hear you.
And then there's a guy down the street who's got this beautiful property. I mean, he just built a house on it within the last 7 or 8 years, and he's got this lake and a fountain. And he's been trying to get them to put up a fence. They won't. And they're telling him to fill in the lake and can the fountain because some kid may drown. So he just said, well, screw it. Pull his dead body out the fountain. Keep him confined. Nobody told you to build this damn thing over here anyway.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah,
I'm pissed off because 3 times they cut the water off here from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Wow. They give y'all a reason for a cut. Okay, work on the school. Okay.
And then they're talking about putting a 150-foot water tower up to satisfy the needs of the school that has no students to fill it right now. So that can ruin everybody's view.
Man, that's crazy, man.
So people will move out and they can get the properties cheap and develop them for something else. That's because and then we found out that the Germantown aldermen who voted for the zoning variance all got $18,000 apiece from the developers, supposedly for their campaign finance committees. But under the law, they can use it for whatever they want if they report it.
To me, that sounds like a very cheap valve. I mean, I would want 6 or 7 figures for what they were doing for them.
Yeah, it is. But understand that's almost what they get paid per year for being on the board of aldermen or on the county commission or on the city council.
Man, that's crazy, man. I remember, you talking about that. I remember when I used to go back to, when I was a little kid going to Hickory Hill. That was the it place, Hickory Hill. Now they call it Hickory Hood. You moving people out because it's like these physical places. You call this a project, you call this the ghetto, but really it's people's mind state. You haven't educate them or reboot the way they think about themselves and their environment. They bring that same stuff to wherever they go.
Okay, look. Right down here on Winchester, west of Forest Irene, west of Hacks Cross, they had a TGI Fridays. Right,
I remember.
There were so many incidents at that TGI Fridays that good folk didn't want to go over there. The last time I went, it was late and I wanted to get something to eat. So I go over there and there's 7 squad cars parked out front. So there's some big old gals out standing outside yelling and hollering. So I go in and there's still 12, 13 sitting at these tables where the other ones were. So I saw one of the waiters I remembered having dealt with. I said, "Son, what's going on?" So, "Oh, well, what happened, Judge, is, you can see the sign up after 10 o'clock, 18% added to all tabs, you know, and they wanted to leave $2 tips. So they couldn't count it up, and they couldn't understand what the 18% was. So they got to hollering and carrying on and got to throwing stuff. We had to call the police.
Wow.
So I was just going to sit down and read a book and eat, but I couldn't do that because the remainder of this crowd was over there yelling and hollering.
That's
And then when you go out in the parking lot, they're yelling to somebody 25 yards away, and they talking about B and H and MF this, MF that, dog this, dog that. It's just like, you know, come on now. You don't have to act like that. You know, I tried to live in the hood over here, Sky Lake and Whitehaven. They had my presence to the thing. I just got burglarized too many times.
Wow.
So, I mean, I had to bail. I don't have to put up with that.
Yeah, I mean, your house, you share a piece of mind in your home. You shouldn't have to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, I know
Being
that.
violated, yeah.
So, I may have mentioned this a time before. I'm in a restaurant. As a matter of fact, what it was Olive Garden, the one over here on Winchester, just down.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about.
Well, anyway, where it is over on Winchester, actually right across from Friday's, where Friday's used to be. They've got Logan's there now. Now, Logan's, I used to like to just drop in there, you know, get a beer when I was drinking beer, or get a steak or a burger or something. Now, I mean, the service is so bad.
Yeah, I stopped going there for that reason, service. Yep.
And you get out in the parking lot and everybody's yelling MF this and that. You know, like, come on, man. And I'm in Olive Garden over there. This is just down from Hacks across from Logan's, and Friday's now closed. And I asked the waitress, I said, you know, can you just seat me someplace? I just need some peace and quiet where there aren't some children. Now, I don't mind kids, but I can't stand them when they have no home training.
Right.
So I sit down. So somebody else about 5-10 minutes later seats this woman and 3 kids next to me in booth. So I look up, and this kid's standing at the end of my table, and he's reaching over to grab a breadstick. So I just shoved his hand out. What's wrong with you? I want a breadstick. You go see your mama. You supposed to share. I said, not with you. I'll see your mama.
And she didn't come and get her child.
But I want one. So she's just sitting behind me. She's looking right at him.
Oh,
I said, you go on over there. So he comes back. I want a breadstick. I said, and I want you to get out of my face.
She didn't even stop that early.
And I turned around. I said, lady, could you house break or home train? That belongs to you.
What did you say?
Excuse me? I said, well, aren't you paying attention to what your child is doing?
What did you say?
Well, he's just expressing himself. I said, I don't feel like bothering him. Feed him.
Now, did he have some earrings in his ear?
Well, he wasn't but 6 or 7 or 8 years old.
See, I be seeing girls, like kids younger than that, they have their boys with earrings in their ear, like at 3 or 2.
Oh, well, yeah, I've seen that too.
Oh, I was like, man.
Yeah, and got their hair all braided up.
Yeah. Like, what's going on, man?
7-year-old with 5 pounds of weave in their hair. You know, what is this? Our mama's supposed to bond with their daughters by brushing their hair in the morning or something? What's the matter with you?
Oh, man, it's a different world, man. It's different rules, Judge. I don't know what to make of it.
You know, somebody said, excuse me for saying this, some to professional ladies, but I have to say, Judge, aren't you going to support International Businesswoman's Week? Why should I? Well, I mean, to celebrate the achievements of young women. I said, well, you know what? Everybody's got a primary thing they're supposed to take care of as a human. Women, female humans have stuff they do. Male humans have stuff they do. We protect, women nurture. And quite frankly, today's womanhood is doing such a bad job with the family. I think they need to concentrate on family matters before they get to worrying about career matters. The children just aren't being raised right. Not all women, but too many of them are just neglecting the institution of motherhood. They have the children, but they're not doing a very good job with rearing them.
Yeah.
Running all over a restaurant, acting like little heathen. No home training, no manners, yelling out, begging a child to please behave instead of using proper discipline and control. Like, what's going on here?
Wow. Something, Judge. Trying to think.
Malcolm X said something. He said, unfortunately, to know your people is sometimes to dislike them very badly.
Yeah. Well, man. Yeah. I'm trying. What do you think about this trend? And like, I know we talked about this before, but have you seen that Captain Marvel movie yet?
I'm not going to see it.
So
I won't even watch that when it comes on TV.
I know people saying they had to see that movie in order to understand the Avengers Endgame movie. I guess she's going to save the world. I guess that's what it is.
Well, the thing of it is that for 60-some years, Captain Marvel has been a man. So
I didn't know that. Wow.
Don pulled off a Bruce Jenner.
I didn't even know that. You just told me. That's something. Wow.
The comic books now, Marvel has Thor, God of Thunder, Norse chief god under Odin, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the comic books, he's a woman now. Now, Stan Lee, before he died, sold Marvel. The new owners are promising the gay community that shortly 50% of the Marvel characters will be homosexual and or female. They will either create some new characters or change some of the ones they have. So Captain Marvel started off as a fighter pilot, but they made her into a woman.
I didn't even know that. Wow. Did anybody? Any comic book enthusiasts been complaining about these type of changes? I know.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
But they don't get any. They don't get any play in the press.
I know with James Bond, I know people have been trying for years. They should get Idris Elba to be it, but the white folks, the people, Ian Fleming, when he created James Bond, he could be a white man. And so some of the people are saying he should stay white. Y'all create your own hero. You don't have to take over James Bond, make him a woman or a black person.
I'm not so offended by them not making James Bond black, but there was a good movie on called American Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's name was Mitch Rapp.
Okay.
They've got as many books on Mitch Rapp as they have on James Bond, and guess what?
What?
Mitch Rapp is black, but who did they have playing a black spy and assassin in the movie? White guy.
Oh my God.
I didn't like it. I liked it in spite of myself because it was a well done action adventure movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not like it because the character who was without equivocation identified frequently and often in the books as black, they had somebody white playing him. In fact, one of the more famous things is, by the way, they had the sister in there who was there, a CIA executive.
Mm.
And in the books, she says on more than one occasion, we're two of the very few blacks in this organization, and I'm glad you're one of them.
But he's white in the movie. Wow.
Yeah, they got a black woman playing her part as laid out in the books, but they got a white guy playing a black part as laid out in the books.
They're not even saying he's mixed, right? He's not considered mixed or anything. He just
There
is
ain't
a
no
white boy.
such damn thing as mixed. If you got black hair or black features, or you look like you got a tan when you ain't been in the sun, then you black.
This is interesting. This is I didn't know Captain Marvel was a man at first. Wow.
Yeah, for 60-some years.
Ain't that something? But yeah, they got a problem with a black Human Torch though. I mean, when Michael B. Jordan played the Human Torch in a Fantastic Four movie a couple years back,
Yeah.
and they were complaining about the black, by him being black and playing the Human Torch, which I think is crazy. They could have a black Spider-Man then. Hell, they get mad about
they
that.
have a black Spider-Man. Did you see the animation?
Oh, I haven't seen the animation. They do got. Well, I guess
It's
they look at
actually pretty good.
Okay.
His daddy's a cop, and his uncle is one of the bad guys.
They actually changed the narrative. Ain't no Mary Jane and no aunt. What's his aunt name? And so they changed the whole narrative.
Well, yeah, but they have the white one in there. It's just alternative universes. So he goes and deals with the original Spider-Man.
That's fascinating.
See, the white guy gets killed in the black kid's world. He gets bit by a radioactive spider too. They live in New York.
Wow.
And he got a little white girl that the two of them are gonna hook up.
Interesting. I gotta check that out, Judge. I got that. That's some good stuff.
It's actually a pretty good one, and it's interesting. His daddy is married to his mama, and his husband and wife, mom and dad, living, and they got him sent to a school for the gifted, which he doesn't want to go to, but he's going to go. That's where he meets the girl who turns out to be the Spider Girl from an alternate universe.
Wow.
And she's cute too.
Mm-hmm.
One interesting thing, Dad is Puerto Rican because he's got a Spanish surname, but he looks black. Tell you who he looks like, other than the fact that he's got hair, he looks like The Rock Johnson.
Interesting.
And his uncle, sure enough, a homeboy. But mom and dad are Puerto Rican, so, Spanish Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
There is a rose in Spanish Harlem.
Wow.
I liked it. It's getting kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
These animations have more manhood in it than the movies do.
Yeah, I like some of those things. Like on feature film animations, be pretty adult themed like stuff going on in them.
I'll tell you one I kind of enjoyed in spite of myself was the three of them, Train Your Dragon, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, I got you there. Why you enjoyed those?
It was manhood. The chief character becomes the chief. His daddy was one heat badass Viking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big burly monster of a guy. He's kind of thin and studious, but he's got all kinds of balls.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a good girlfriend that's gonna marry him. And he's got a dragon who is the king of dragons. He ain't the biggest somebody, like the dude ain't the big guy, but he's one badass.
Mm-hmm.
And he and the dragon are a team, and the dragon gets him a girl in the last one, so it gets kind of funny with that.
Wow. But it sounds better than that Star Wars movie talking about when the dude let the girl take over for him. She was the Jedi.
Oh, ain't that awful? So deliberately done. That was just horrible. They even had her best in Luke Skywalker,
who was a master all the years.
Who isn't a young man anymore. He got a gray beard. He old man. Transcended Jedi. Like no other Jedi before. bringing balance to the force, you know. So they got a young babe with no training being able to take him down. I'm just saying, come on.
Yeah.
And she got a black dude that she got something special with, but we don't know what his thing is either. So they just sort of blew the franchise. I don't like it.
Yeah, but you know what, Jill, I was thinking about what you just said. I was thinking about that. Have you seen that movie, The Green Book, by any chance?
No, not my kind of movie.
But it's just funny how people, when they say it's based on a true story and people believe everything in the movie. Like, I said, y'all, there's a movie, right? This person lives so many number of years. They can put everybody's life, experiences in 2 hours or even 3 hours. And they take liberties with your life story a lot of times.
It ain't my kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a lot of gratuitous violence, sex, and killing in it. I ain't interested.
So you still wait for the John Wick to come out?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the last installment of John Wick?
By the way, he's got some skills. He actually goes to the range a lot and gets a lot of
instruction. Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of gratuitous violence for you.
Some of the gunplay is quite real, and the way he handles stuff is the way he does. You notice he doesn't fire from the hip. He always aims.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he's not always the first one to fire, but he's aimed surely.
Mm-hmm. So is that the best way to be? Not to be the first all the time, but just make sure you're accurate?
Be quick. Be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
The person who takes the time to aim will usually prevail.
Okay.
Wild Bill Hickok had a high noon meeting with somebody on Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
They were 50 yards away. The guy pulled, drew, fired twice before Hickok fired the first shot, which he carefully aimed. He rested his revolver over his elbow, took careful aim, and shot the guy through the heart from 50 yards away.
Wow. Oh, man. That takes some, man.
Well, even they got it right with Gunsmoke.
Mm-hmm.
James Arness plays Matt Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
So in that scene they got where they slap leather, he's not the first to fire, but he's the accurate one. And most of the time they didn't get out there and street and slap leather. Somebody had a short barrel 12 gauge or 10 gauge shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Or rifles, and they shot it out that way.
So, man, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I like Morgan Freeman and Clint Eastwood.
Unforgiven.
See,
I was going to ask you what's your favorite Western of all time.
That was one of them.
Unforgiven? That was a good one, though. That was a good one.
Yeah, well, what's the name? Gene Hackman's character said, "You just shot an unarmed man." And Eastwood's character said, "He should have harmed himself."
But that's how Wyatt Earp was thinking back then. That's why he was not be good cops. They had that type of mentality.
He said he should have harmed himself. Wyatt Earp, you know how he died?
He died of old age, right?
No, but you know where he died of old age?
Hollywood?
No.
Where?
He was a reporter for a Chicago newspaper, and he died while he was typing out a story.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. The man, but he bullets missed him a lot of times. He didn't really ever get hit by a bullet. His clothes got tore off.
His brother got killed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He lost a brother. I mean, the Tombstone stuff, OK Corral, all that, Doc Holliday. Yeah,
Doc Holliday was there.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Mastersons was there. They were some bad dudes.
But they were breaking the law, though. They were, you know what I'm saying? They were lawmen who were breaking the law.
By the way, they never say this in the movies, but they got tried for murder with that shootout at the OK Corral.
I didn't know they got tried. I didn't know they were killing people like they were crazy.
Yeah, but they went on trial for murder.
Mm-hmm.
They got acquitted.
But you think that's the right mindset to have as a person supposed to be upholding the law, to be getting revenge against people?
It was a different day.
Mm.
And
It was necessary.
In other words, under certain circumstances, being nice is not going to get it.
No.
So you notice white people are always about trying to impose order where they live.
Right.
Now, contrast that to us.
Man, we just.
I'll give you an example. They got a restaurant in Brooklyn. It's called Bamonte's.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people are affiliated with that restaurant.
I hear you
in fact,
saying
they
that.
used it as a set for The Sopranos in the past.
Mm.
And it's interesting. Little old ladies in ankle-length fur coats and real bling get out of their cars and don't lock them, and nobody bothers them.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask somebody who frequented the place, they say criminality is not allowed in the vicinity. Now, just think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine going to South Memphis and somebody talking about it's safe for the old ladies to go wear real bling. Ain't nobody gonna mess with them because criminality is not allowed when it comes to dealing with civilians.
Right.
Just think about it.
Interesting place.
So we got a long way to go.
What do you think about, speaking of that, the Staten Island hit on the Camino mob boss by the Trump dude, the MAGA hat wearing guy, I guess, or MAGA sign, the guy who killed their mom.
That is something black people need to keep in mind and not forget.
Mm-hmm.
When you got ordinary dudes acting badass enough to go take out a mafia don, alleged mafia don,
right? Alleged, right?
You got a different kind of thing going on.
Dude didn't have no fear. Somebody gonna get killed in jail. Well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
That's that motorcycle gang stuff. By the way, I've met some Hell's Angels where I used to live in California. Was not inside L.A. And they had a place called the Deer Lodge. Okay. It's been open since 1927.
Wow.
And the Hell's Angels used to like to hang out at the place. They were respectful.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask that. You wasn't afraid. I mean, I ain't gonna say afraid, but you.
No, I wasn't afraid of the judge. Come in, Judge. Check out the wheels, Judge. Oh, that's nice. Man, you got some crazy wheels, man. What you think of the hog, man? Wow. That's real nice. You got that tricked out nice. They'd be polite. They got gray hair and beards.
But they won't let black people join, though. I'm saying that you couldn't join their organization.
I never heard of anybody black joining, but we'd all be in the same lodge. Hanging up there at Deer Lodge, drinking beer.
Okay. Yeah, but I remember like reading about the Hell's Angel killing that black dude at that Rolling Stones concert back in the day. Out there.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I've never seen them mess with anybody who didn't start some crap.
Right. They were saying it was self-defense. They were saying the dude had a gun.
Yeah.
But he have to be black, though. And the Rolling Stones kept on.
He have to be black. They really don't have a track record of just jacking somebody up because they were black. Matter of fact, in L.A., down in the hood in South Central, they used to have a clubhouse right across the street. It was on Florence.
Wow.
Down in the hood.
Yeah, I know Florence.
And it was a bunch of white folk. Nothing but white folk would be up in that club. They'd be Hell's Angels riding those tricked out Harleys.
Wow.
And they didn't mess with anybody. Didn't anybody mess with them. They'd speak. And we had this parking lot with a building. There was an L-shaped building in the parking lot. Took up the space between the angles of the building. So we were running a recruitment center for college in the place. And we rented out the middle to a guy who was selling watermelons. So he'd give us one every day if we sat on the curb and ate it.
Mm-hmm.
So the motorcyclist would walk over and buy a watermelon.
Mm.
They'd go over there and get drunk and get to acting foolish, but they didn't bother anybody. Nobody bothered them.
Okay, so a lot of this stuff is popular culture or media that's running amok, not telling the truth about people or
Yes.
escalating divisions.
And see, you know what he said about somebody back? He used the N-word. Well, we kind of use it on ourselves and tell the truth. You ain't never called a white boy a whole lot of nasty names in private when you talking to your homies?
Yeah, but Judge, you ever had a white dude talk about using the word, the nigger word in front of your presence? Not necessarily towards you, but they just use it saying, well, I heard one of my friends say, nigger and all this stuff. Do you ever had white folks do that with you in a conversation?
Nope. I don't, because I will bust you right in your mouth.
There you go. See, I think a lot of them.
I don't use it except in a very derogatory fashion. But some of us, let me tell you, the worst I ever heard had nothing to do with saying it to anybody black. I'm in Sydney, Australia, and I'm downtown Sydney, Australia, in this big hotel. Rupert Murdoch bought this hotel, 28 stories, and he, renovated it for the Olympics. So his guest, I was one of those who was included in that category. We stayed at the hotel. And in the basement, they had a nightclub. In the middle of the place, they had a nightclub. They had a bar in the basement, one like on the 6th floor, and another one on the 22nd floor, and then one at the top on the 28th floor. So my date and I, we're downstairs in the basement. And the white guys up there, Mike, we're having a good party tonight. Aye. Right out there, we get all kinds of people out in the audience. Hey, here's Carl. Carl, that's my nigga. Come on up here, Carl. I'm going, damn, it's spread.
Was the Carl a black dude or he a white dude?
He's white dude.
Well, Carl answered to that. He answered to nigga. Okay.
Yeah, he did. I was shocked. It's like, damn.
What's your date? What's your date? What was
she was black. She's from Mississippi. She said, damn.
Man.
Damn.
Wow.
That's freaky.
Yeah,
what it was. What can I say?
Yeah. So they were like you think it was a hip hop thing? Did the hip hop thing?
No, they couldn't dance for a damn thing. See, that's one reason rap stays the way it is. They listen to rap, but they kind of do this techno stuff where they jump up and down, jump.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that stuff.
No rhythm, no nothing.
Yeah.
But they're used to doing it to the rap stuff, so I guess the people that do the distributing, they don't want it changed. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, Japan, Australia, and Rome and stuff, they can't dance too well, so they like it the way it is. So rappers are not encouraged to be innovative.
Yeah, I know. Rappers, a lot of them do mumble rap now. They don't even try to do lyrics no more. They don't even want to be lyrical anymore or enunciate words. They just want to, It's interesting.
And the bad thing is what they're doing to reggae.
The reggae? What's they doing? What they doing to reggae?
In other words, reggae is trying to go where rap goes.
Oh, okay.
So reggae's got this good thing, but they're ruining it, trying to do the rap bit. It's interesting. You ever get a chance, go to Jamaica for Sumfest. They've got 4 soccer fields, which are like 120 yards apiece. So that's, more than a quarter mile across, and they got the place filled up 24/7 for a whole week. The babes are out there in saran wrap tops and skirts that you can see right through, and people got blankets out screwing on the blankets, and there's so much ganja being smoked that everybody's got red eyes and got a humongous case of the munchies. And the constabulatory, the constables are out there with red eyes too, craving food.
So everybody getting all types of contact hides. Wow.
Oh yeah, and they got American women, Caribbean women, Asian women, European women, and I loved it. Last time I went, what was popular was this fishnet cover-up worn as a dress with nothing under it. See right straight through it. I'm going, damn. You know, baby, I'm going over here to get one of these confections. I'll be right back.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
Wow. So in the islands, is that gay agenda big down there in Jamaica?
Oh, hell no. In resorts, women doing the L word thing is looked at as exotic.
Okay.
They do have some gay males working at some of these resorts as staff, all right? But they keep that stuff quiet because every week they got gay folk getting killed. Just for being gay.
I heard they got a bleach problem. Like they can bleach their skin, but they can't stand the.
That's Nigeria.
Oh, that's Nigeria. Okay.
Yeah, see, Jamaica isn't all black. That's that thing with Kamala Harris's daddy. If you get in Jamaica, you're going to see Hindu, you're going to see Asians, you're going to see white folk, you're going to see black folk. A lot of black. But if you go to some place like St. Elizabeth Parish, they got all these fair-skinned folk and white folk over there. You know, so it's mixed. Hey, look at Bob Marley. Bob Marley wasn't exactly dark.
Right.
Or paper bag brown, you know.
His dad was white. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Kamala Harris's daddy wrote an article. They didn't quote him, but he's an engineer, so he can write. He wrote the article. He called his daughter a fraud. He said,
wow.
He said the only black in her family is I had a grandmother, one grandmother, who was about 1/8 black, maybe 1/4, and that's it. The rest of my ancestors were either Indian or they were descendants of white plantation owners.
It's an interesting looking Kamala Harris because she got lighter over the years.
Well, she looks just like a Hindu Brahmin, which is what she is. They look just like the same complexion, same straight, coarse hair. And a lot of them masquerade as black so they can get in college. She joined as an AKA. But I don't buy it. She's not black. Well, when I first got that show out in L.A., that was a beautiful, what I thought, sister. She was chocolate brown. And I was a sister, you are very beautiful. She said, well, I'm not a sister. I'm a Hindu. I said, damn.
Wow. That's funny. But I noticed that.
She used to flirt with my ass all the time. She sounded American.
Oh, man.
I mean, if she walked down in the hood, you'd say, damn, she fine.
She probably had a white dude on, a lot of them like white dudes, right? She did?
No.
She had a brother?
No, she didn't have a brother either. She had an Indian.
Oh. But would she be considered untouchable over India because she was dark? Or?
No, her mother was a Brahmin. Father was one of the warrior caste.
Okay.
The father had a death warrant taken out against him for eloping with her mama.
Wow.
He was supposed to be guarding her. They fell for each other and left the country.
That's like a movie. Okay. Wow.
Hollywood.
I got, before we go, Judge, I got to ask you about the Joe Biden stuff.
Oh, give me a break. He's been a loser his whole. No, I guess he has been a loser. He keeps getting elected, but no, no.
But why is it with all the story? I've been hearing something about how he invade personal space for years now. But why is this?
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
How many times has the woman reached over to straighten your tie or pat you on the shoulder or pat you on the cheek or smiled at you, leaned on you or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of times.
Right.
So how would we look as men if we were hollering about a woman leaning on you?
Mm-hmm.
What he's done, most women, normal women, would not get upset. It's just the other kind. And these days, you know, things are happening strange. Like even with the boys, I saw a survey, and they were talking about the very small percentage of adult males who were 35 and had never been laid. The increasingly large percentage.
That's interesting.
I'm going, damn, you 35 years old. They made a movie out of it. I thought the movie was just BS.
No, he's on a 40-year-old version.
There was some reality to it. Man, these dudes ain't getting no trim.
That's interesting. They're not gay or nothing. They just never had been with a woman?
No, never had a woman. And like that's that incel stuff. The woman hating bunch. They hate the women, and like the guy up in Toronto that ran over all those folks, he was incel. And they say it's the women's fault that they haven't been laid and they're still virgins, so they hate them, and they're going to take revenge against the women who...
Yeah, they must have this poor, like, they don't got no type of game or they can't get laid at all. That's crazy.
They're not. It's lame.
I mean, you could buy it for kind. You could buy you some. Just outright buy some.
They don't know how to go down and buy it.
So you go pay for it one way or the other anyway. Just
they wouldn't know what the whole track is or where to find it.
Man, I got ask you too, Judge, and I'll let you go. I know you've been on the phone for a minute. The Cardi B, the rapper, they said that when she was coming up as a stripper, she was drugging people. Yeah, but you heard about what she said, right? I know you heard.
I know she's a slut. Get men drunk and rob them.
What should be done? I mean, nobody came for. I mean, somebody came forward.
You can't prosecute her because you don't have a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just slut. Trampy, slutty thought process.
The people like her. They love her, though. They're crazy about her. I mean, especially women. They just love them some Cardi B.
You know, it says a lot negative about a society when they start glorifying people who are of low character.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible she could have just been over-exaggerating, too? Like just
She claimed, she refused to acknowledge that was the case. She just said, hey, that was my lifestyle. She was a prostitute.
But you know what get me, Judge? You live in a society where somebody like Ted Bundy can kill all these women, but women still love Ted Bundy. He got married in prison. I don't understand. It's confusing to me. These women crazy about Ted Bundy. He killed all these women.
He's dangerous.
Okay.
As long as they're with him, see, he's not killing the ones with him, so they don't care.
It's insane, though, Judge. It's like I can't understand.
Well, it may be insane, but it's the reality. See, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of Tyrannosaurus Rex, right?
Yes, sir.
Saber-toothed tiger, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Lions and tigers and grizzly bears, polar bears,
right?
Great white sharks and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of those are endangered. And even though T-Rexes did not live when humans lived, I think the humans would have dealt with the T-Rexes pretty sternly.
Interesting. Even though they could run fast, they got little arms.
What I'm saying is humans are the apex predator on the planet at the moment, and they're probably the most efficient killing machine that has been evolved in this planet's history.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kill better than anything that's been in the planet's history, including a T-Rex, That says something about the way we behave.
Mm.
And we have had socialization and acculturation that has evolved in lockstep with physiological evolution so that we can control ourselves. When you let that go by the wayside, then you release a monster. It kills better than saber-toothed tigers. They are extinct. We're not. Kills better than short-faced cave bears that used to be 8 feet tall at the shoulders. They're extinct. We're not. Polar bears are an endangered species. Tigers are an endangered species. Lions are in trouble. Great white sharks need to be protected from us. So this being a reality, you can see it, you talk about it, people tree hug and talk about the environment and protecting the animals. These same idiots just don't get it that this beast that can do this killing so readily also can kill itself, and they don't want to take any accommodation. Well, you can think, so you shouldn't be like that. Hell, fool.
Wow.
Where have you been? This is some serious stuff.
Wow. Well, Judge, I want to thank you once again. You have any closing thoughts or words you want to share?
Oh, just keep on. This was just sort of a light thing this evening. It's don't let the media get you wired up into making a big deal out of what goes on ordinarily. Just take it in stride. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. Pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
There is somebody that I'd like everyone to Google as a homework assignment.
Okay.
The person's name is Joseph Goebbels. Goebbels.
Mm-hmm.
Goebbels. Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda. Read about him and see if you don't see his Nazi methods being used today by the left. The far right, the alt-right, idolizes the Nazis, but it's the left that's using the Nazis' techniques.
Wow. Well, we might be having a night of the long knives, I guess, in the near future.
Yeah, but it would be on the left side, and they're
right.
pacifists, you know. Oh, my God, I might get blood on my clothes. Oh, come on, fool.
That's interesting. But you know what? Like, when you said the left, I was thinking also about, I don't know, no, I don't even say, but I think about Franklin Roosevelt. I think they had an admiration for the Russians or something like that. I remember Henry Wallace. He was connected to some Russian mystic, the guy who was vice president before Harry Truman. Now that would have been interesting. You talking about Russian collusion had he became president, because Truman was only vice president for like 82 days or something like that. But they quickly exchanged him for Henry. You know, the first guy who was vice president was Jack Gardner from Texas. Then Henry Wallace was kind of like eccentric or whatever.
Well, I don't have any problem with Russians. Matter of fact, I kind of like them.
See, my thing about us that we don't look at history. Did we buy Alaska from the Russians back in the 1860s?
We did.
So what's the problem? I mean, I talked to a sister from New York.
And the other thing too, we got to worrying about the Russians. Most people don't realize that the U.S. sent 6 divisions to Russia and occupied the Russian mainland right after World War I.
I didn't know. Wow. Okay.
And I had a professor who told me that 2 of her uncles and several of her cousins got killed by Americans on Russian soil back in 1920.
Oh. That's right after wow.
It wasn't 6 divisions, it was 3.
Well, after the Russian Revolution, right? You said 1920?
Yeah, we tried to interfere with the Russian Revolution. took the side of the white Russians rather than the red Russians.
And we know who won that.
Wrong side.
Yeah. And that's interesting. But also, I know somebody was telling me from New York that, you know, you got a lot of Russians up in New York. They got more Russians up in New York than any place in the world outside of Russia, from my understanding.
I like Russians. I don't have any problems with Russians. My granddaughter is half Russian.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you better you better love your granddaughter.
Yeah, she's a pretty little thing too.
But yeah, you know, Alexander Pushkin. It was a black man who brought Russia her literature. Alexander Pushkin.
I mean, I would hate. I feel sorry for her first boyfriend. But anyway.
All right, Judge. Thank you so much. And we can find you on Twitter at Judge Joe Brown TV. And also, you got a Friday show you do with Sister Valerie Denise Jones. I really enjoy those shows, man. It's very powerful panel discussion. You get very passionate. Let them know where you stand, Judge. You stand your ground.
Yeah, I ramp the passion up so it's not dull, you know.
Oh, it's great stuff, man. I really enjoy listening to it.
I try to ramp it up. We got a good one. Isaiah Washington's going to be on this Friday again.
I'm definitely going to tune in because you say he got 3,000 folks out of prison, but there's like radio silence about that.
I know, because he didn't come out and support the gay crowd.
Oh, if he was gay himself, he definitely got all that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he no longer is with Grey's Anatomy.
I remember that when they got let him go. I said, that's kind of like overkill, you know, but it is what it is.
Oh, they see, they're vicious. And the damn thing of it is to say, does it get to you that, you know, you're treating other folk like you don't want to be treated? There's going to be a backlash.
Wow. Yeah, so it's the Judge Joe Brown show on Blog Talk Radio. Also, you reach the judge directly, Judge Joe Brown TV on Twitter. And I want to thank the judge as always for, you know, coming on the platform.
Thing. I don't have a blue check, but I need about 44, 45 more folk to hit 10,000.
There you go. Let's give them 45 more people. People, y'all tell me how much y'all love Judge Joe Brown. People really love, you know, Judge, you drop your knowledge, and I'm glad that the internet, the social media is acting as an echo chamber for your greatness to be heard. And it's really resonating with the people out here. So that's a great thing.
Oh, thank you, young man. I ain't quite dead yet.
Right, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that, Judge. Thank you so much. In the words of Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing it and pushing, and good night.
All right, sir. Have a good one.
Yes, sir.